Over this weekend, important things have happened in the land of autonomous vehicles and autonomous transport. As you know, Tesla is the world's leading company that pushes forward this vision of robotaxis, automated vehicles that can drive everywhere for very, very low costs, less than $1 a mile, very quickly, and then much lower prices than that. There's no driver in these cars. They drive themselves. And it's one of the most astonishing accomplishments in recent memory for technology and AI. The ability to send cars out on the roads and they drive themselves, these very dangerous things. These are rockets on wheels. That's how I think Elon described it. If something goes wrong, people die. That is why this is such an amazing achievement to go to a point where you can do that. And of course now, everyone is watching. If that is all a dream, is it all imagined? Is it all exaggerated? Are we going to take many more years before this becomes true? Or can it be done now at scale? Companies like Waymo have science projects going on. Non-scalable solutions where people do manual mapping and all kinds of stuff to tweak it and make it work. But these are not scalable projects and everyone knows it. Tesla has a different approach, as we all know. If Tesla succeeds, it is a true success. If Tesla can scale Robotaxi, they can deploy tens of millions of them in very short order. And we know the market is effectively unlimited. This is a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity to replace all global transport with autonomous transport, from robotaxis to car ownership to buses and public transport to, of course, commercial transportation, trucking, and many other things. This is truly a transformational moment in time, if it is that moment in time, and that is exactly what we are following here on Pioneer Alpha and Pioneer Lands. We need to figure out, is it the moment or is it not the moment? Because you know that my main focus here is to trade my own portfolio, and now, as you all probably know, not just my portfolio, but the actual institutionalized Pioneer Alpha portfolio with a Luxembourg bond for qualified investors, where we actually transform that strategy that I fine-tuned for myself, for my own money over the last 2 years into an institutional offering for qualified investors. So we need to be right about the future, and we need to be right about the most decisive moments in the future, Robotaxi being one of them. So what happened over the last 48 hours? Well, this happened. What you see here is the Robotaxi tracker, and what you see here is the actual increase in Robotaxis. And we are now talking about, actually this is cut off here, why is that? 15 Robotaxis deployed, and just over the last 48 hours, 2 additional Robotaxis that are unsupervised. These are the unsupervised Robotaxis. And as you all probably know, when you go to robotaxitracker.com, you see the whole story. And you see that currently, in total, 602 are being deployed. These are all Robotaxis, including those with safety drivers. Now, we have to note that these safety drivers don't do anything. Effectively, they are the same technically as unsupervised robotaxis because there are no interventions. This is just owed to the regulations and to some safety measures, but effectively these are all not really supervised robotaxis. However, these 15 are literally cars with no one inside that actually transport commercial customers. Now, why is that such a big deal, that what happened over the last 48 hours? Because we have unlocked 2 additional cities in Texas. We have unlocked Houston, America's 3rd largest metropolitan area. New York, number 1, LA, and then Houston, then Chicago. So Houston is enormous, and Dallas, also an enormous city. And in both, we have now deployed 1 unsupervised robotaxi. That is very important because it hints at something. It hints at this all-decisive question, or to the answer to that question, when do we start scaling? And you know that my thesis has been for over 10 months now that we will hit this inflection point we have been all waiting for so long in April 2026. When you pull out your calendar and look at the month, it is April 2026. And so people think Joe was wrong. It's not scaling. And yes, I will probably have been wrong. I will have about the 1,800 unsupervised robotaxis in April. At least I'm very sure I will be wrong. Let's see what happens. But it's not about that anymore. It is about the question, when do we start actually deploying these things? And now that this starts to happen, we have to understand this is potentially happening any day now. We have deployed 2 in 2 more cities. At what point do we start deploying more in Austin? At what point do we start deploying some maybe in the Bay Area? This is a regulatory question. And at what point do we just saturate Austin and Houston and Dallas? In my opinion, you can easily deploy 20,000 unsupervised across, or 30,000 probably across these 3. These are large cities. You can saturate them. Even without eating into car ownership or anything, you could deploy tens of thousands just in these 3 cities across Texas, and you can connect these cities. San Antonio could be included, and then you could include this entire super area, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, all the way up to Dallas. So if that happens, I said this before, we can be absolutely sure that Tesla stock will reprice to the new reality that unsupervised robotaxi will now happen globally at massive scale. And I told everyone, if we roll out tens of thousands of unsupervised robotaxis, the stock goes to 1,000 and more. I was very clear on that, sticking to my opinion. So the question is, when are we on that track? And in my opinion, we are now entering, as I predicted, not exactly as I predicted, but I predicted April is the inflection point, and I think we are now entering the inflection point zone. So now we have to actually recognize there is upside risk. There's significant upside risk that this repricing or parts of the repricing, even if the stock goes to 600, we are fine for now. These are the upside moves we cannot miss. And so now it is all about watching this extremely closely. This is, a fake bull flag, false flag alarm. Is it just 2 and now we wait another 10 months to get another 2? Or we will see on Monday suddenly 10. This can definitely happen. People who observe the technology understand we are already at the point where this rollout could happen. Something is holding Tesla back, but maybe not anymore. Now every day counts. If you are into stock trading and getting the alpha squeezed out of these stocks, you know my strategy. My strategy, how I beat. By the way, I have to show you guys the latest here. This is the update. I will cover this in more videos. I beat Tesla right now with 17% for the month, for the year. Year to date, outperformance of Pioneer Alpha is 17%. Okay, so if you had $1 million invested, or if I had $1 million invested here, for example, I would have $170,000 more than a pure Tesla portfolio. Why do I mention that? Because Tesla is still by far my biggest position. By far. It's very close to 80% of the portfolio, even though I'm invested over 100% right now. So anyway, how am I able to outperform Tesla so strongly with itself? Of course, NVDA helped me a little bit, Robinhood and MicroStrategy helped me a little bit, but mostly, you know how I outperform Tesla? With Tesla. How do I do it? Not just with margin. I do it with timing and prediction. This is part of Pioneer Alpha, and why you guys are watching this, because you want to probably do similar things, and some of you do it even better than I do. But what we are doing here together is, if you have a stock like Tesla and you know the stock can go to 6,000, 10,000 over the next 5-6 years, could. What you want is, you want to be invested, but if you can predict these runs, if you can time not the market but the stock, and history shows I can, some others might be able to do it too. But over the last over 2 years and a quarter, I was able to do that. Why am I able to do that? Because I understand the technicalities of the stock price, and I understand when Tesla is ready to run, and I understand when Tesla is cheap. Last year, why did I massively outperform Tesla? Since inception, look at this. We had ups and downs. I outperformed Tesla by 45%. Tesla is up 60% since January 1st, 2024. We are up, and this is all accounted for. We are up 106%, so which means over 2 years, 45% outperformance. How? With Tesla itself. Why? For example, at the tariff panic, Liberation Day last year, it was obvious that Tesla is completely oversold at 220. So I went all in at 240 with leaps and got out for Christmas last year. So that was good timing. Then I knew it's going to deflate. We're able to outperform that. Why am I saying that? Because now is one of these super exciting moments coming. Over the next, I don't know, 6 months, but it could be as little as 1 month. In the next day to 6 months, there will be an inflection point with increasingly high certainty. And we need to position ourselves to actually capture that. That is my whole mission right now, to capture this upside of Tesla. And the way to do that is to watch this chart, to watch the stock price. Let's see what happens. We have Iran overlay, right? The street is closed again, but now Trump said, oh, we are meeting again in Pakistan, which is bullish. Straight close is bearish. So we have to watch the Iran madness that overlays the stock. Plus, we have to watch the robotaxis. how they scale, and then between these things, we can decide when we go all in. I'm already I'm not all in. I didn't reach my capacity yet, but I'm over 100% in. So this is a decisive moment. That's all I'm saying. Very decisive, because we have to understand, and that's what most other Tesla tubers don't really get. They're like either too fundamental or they're too tradey. We need to consider everything. If we want to outperform, you need to always consider everything. The fundamentals, the stock price, the stock technicals, and of course macro politics, especially Iran and oil price right now. So this is the situation here, and I am very exposed to Tesla, but not completely exposed, because I could go more in. So we are waiting, but we need to have the finger at the trigger, because this can happen now anytime, and you want to take that run up. And what is so important here is we have to distinguish between the stock moving up to 490, which is a lot. It's at 400 now. 90 can move up without any reason, because it's all-time highs and the company's in the best shape of its life. So it can just go back there without a reason. But if it goes without a reason, without Robotaxi scaling back to 490, we have to be cautious, because it's likely going to drop again. But if there's a repricing going on, it can just burn all the way through 490, 500, through 600 and get repriced. And that is why we have to watch out so much for what is actually happening here. Because only if we do that can we make the right decisions and not get too nervous. So that is our mission. I hope you stay tuned, and I hope that was interesting. See you tomorrow.